Yo, what is going on, guys? Max is here with a brand new video, and today I wanted to talk about a topic that I haven't really covered in quite some time. The last time I made a video on this was actually 2019. A few things have changed in DayZ since, so I thought I would go over it just to kind of give you guys a good idea of what to expect. We're talking about the updated locations for all the PvP locations for either modded or official servers. So, of course, modded servers will vary depending on how the servers are set up. There could be certain hotspots just for PvP that could be completely wrong, but for the most part, they do follow a very similar pattern. So we'll start with the official servers first. So with the official servers, you have roughly 3 different tiers when it comes to PvPing. There is just the 3 tiers, and they kind of can be a little bit arguable, but in my opinion, from what I've experienced in DayZ, there is 3 different levels to PvP. The first and most basic level, of course, is going to be mostly on the shore. You might get a few spots inland, but it's mostly just going to be stuck to the shore. It's going to be pretty much just you beating someone over the head with a can, just hoping that they'll leave you alone until you can move yourself inland. You might occasionally find a high geared level player that's just going to hunt you down. You can try and get a bunch of your buddies and swarm them and kill them. That actually does work sometimes. But for the most part, there's not really much else for tier 1 PvP besides maybe if you can find a single shooter. Maybe if you can get lucky and find a pistol and some ammo, but that is a 1 in a million kind of thing. If you can, then yeah, that'll work as well. It's still considered tier 1 as you're going to be near the coast. You're not going to get too many stuff if you do kill someone. It's probably going to be the funniest PvP and might be the most entertaining to watch. And you can't really beat, just running up to somebody with a can of spaghetti in your hands and just cracking them over the skull with it. It doesn't get that much better. Tier 2 is going to be the next one. It's where things start to get a bit more serious. So in tier 2, that's where you start seeing, yourself going to more military bases and military camps. Maybe checking out the police stations and seeing what you can get from there as well. Yeah, you can get stuff on the coast at the police stations, of course, as well. But if you do go, you'll notice there just isn't a whole lot there in those police stations because, they want you to go inwards. So you might get lucky and find a scorpion if you're on the coast, but if you go inland more, let's just say you go to Gorka or somewhere like that, you're going to find probably a nice shotgun, maybe a scorpion as well. Probably a good vest, just something to really keep the PvP flow going whenever you do find somebody. Of course, there is a military base. You'll end up like Pavlova military base, Belota, even Zelengorsk, you'll go there. That's going to be a very hot spot for tier 2 PvP, to the point where you might even see some tier 3 players, which I will get to tier 3 in a minute. It'll make a whole lot more sense, I promise. Think of tier 2 more like you have maybe a submachine gun, a pistol. You might have a pretty decent long-range rifle, nothing too crazy. Just something enough to where you can put up a fight if you do find somebody. So for tier 2 guns, you can kind of think of, MP5, maybe a pretty decent shotgun like the BK-45, I believe it is, the pump shotgun. Just any submachine gun that you can find with maybe a couple assault rifles. Mostly for the assault rifles though, you're looking more towards tier 3, but I know it still doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it's just the levels of PvPing to where it kind of changes over from your high level players to the mid tier where you're getting a decent amount of stuff to low tier where you're a fresh spawn. Hitting tier 2 is probably the easiest, as once you get off the coast, you just keep going towards probably Northwest Airfield or Tissy, depending on where you want to finish off your character, because usually when you go up that way you tend to die. But on the off chance that you do make it pretty far, you can kind of plan your route depending on where you want to go for your tier 2 loot. Tier 2 loot is going to be pretty important on your survival and making it towards tier 3, obviously. But that's not to say that you can't just go from tier 1 all the way up to tier 3. If you can somehow make it from the coast all the way up to Tissy with absolutely nothing, maybe picking up food along the way, then that's pretty impressive, and you should more than likely just go for it. But if you do that route, of course, you're going to be in a whole lot of danger. If you see any single person, you'll have to avoid any firefight. Hope the zombies don't kill you, and it just kind of turns into a giant mess if you do take that route. Tier 3. Now, tier 3 is always the best. So the PvP on tier 3, it's either going to be really amazing or horrible. There's not really an in-between. These are going to be your main tier 3 PvP locations. You're looking more towards Tissy and the Northwest Airfield. There isn't a whole lot of other tier 3 locations, maybe crash helicopter sites, but that's not something you can really mark on the map as the spawns are kind of randomized. There's not really a definite spot where you can go for a crash helicopter. But other than that, you're just kind of stuck to these 2 areas and just hoping you can get something good. Usually you'll find something really good, and maybe you'll get lucky on some of the basic bases as well and get something amazing there. So it's kind of spotty, but these are the main 2 locations where you can find everything you need. Tier 3 PvP, you can kind of think of it more like, okay, so you have an M4, the guy across from you has an M4, one of you is obviously going to die. Let's make it a nice firefight, we'll throw some grenades, we'll have a great time. Tier 3 PvP might be the funnest, but it's also going to be the most serious, as you've just spent all of this time to get all of this gear and you don't want to lose it, obviously. You may never want to die, but once you get the tier 3 loot, the highest level loot that DayZ can offer, you definitely do not want to lose it, as it will take so much time depending on how long you took farming trying to get this character all the way up to the tier 3 level technically. So in the opposite direction, tier 3 PvP can go from, like I was saying earlier, to you versus another guy that has an M4, you guys both have M4s, to you versus the guy on the coast that has the can of baked beans that is coming to kill you. As once you finally gotten tier 3 loot, you might just end up getting bored and just decide to go to the coast and see how many waves of fresh spawns you can take out before they eventually come to kill you. It's a very honorable death, and one that I fully respect, and I don't blame you for at all, but at the same time, God does it suck whenever you finally finish off that character after getting tier 3 loot and having all of those experiences and memories, and now you're just kind of stuck back at the beginning. But of course, the great thing there is that you can always get all of that back, and you know, gear fear shouldn't limit you from experiencing all this, because this is still going to be some of the best PvP and action that you can experience in DayZ. Now for the important one, modded. So modded seems to kind of follow a different rule depending on what server you go to. The only ones that I've seen, the only PvP you will really get is mostly going to be around any military base and every single military base. Anything from military camps to, you know, if you're in the cities, to if you're walking down the road and you see the little military tents, to the full-on bases like Belota and the airfield and all of that. That's where you're going to see the most action, but it seems like no matter where, as long as there's any type of military loot, you will get into a huge fight. It does make for some extremely exciting moments, especially if you get to the servers that you can actually pick your spawns and you can be closer to the military gear, because you're almost guaranteed a fight immediately, which will actually let you avoid the entire walking simulator that is DayZ, from going from Cherno all the way up to Tissy or wherever your journey might take you. Most of their PvP is going to end up being at the military bases. You'll still get in fights in the city no matter if it's official or modded. There will always be fights in the cities, but you are so much more likely to find any type of action in the military locations, and it just makes it so much more worth it if you just go there straight off. Of course, if you don't want to die and you want to play it more slow, maybe you want to do some base building, just have a more enjoyable time, of course you do want to avoid these areas, but at some point you will have to go here, as this is where most of the high tier loot is on every single server, whether it be official or modded. But yeah guys, that is going to do it for today's video. Let me know what you think of the whole tier system that I kind of came up with. I'm curious if it's been done before. I'm sure it has. There's not really a whole lot of original ideas anymore, but you know, quick overview. Tier 1, you're going to be looking at just the shore. Tier 2, more inland, you know, mostly military bases. Tier 3, I didn't actually say this until now, is just going to be Tissy and the airfield. There's not really a whole lot more for tier 3, and that's where most of the better loot's going to be. But yeah, like I said, that's going to be the end of this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.